Welcome back to another episode of Lost in the Dark podcast. This one in particular, the Halloween special 2019. Probably airing second. This is our second year with Halloween. We did one last year, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was on it, but
I think it was just me and Preston.
yeah.
Preston's not here tonight.
He is still trying to find his way out of the religious fanatics.
He was attacked by religious fanatics recently, and it has not gotten back to us yet, so we're still waiting for him. However, we do have a guest. Now, this guest tonight is a very close friend of mine. Him and I, this is a story I like to tell. Now, the way him and I met is one of those, like, insane fucking situations. So basically, I had a friend who actually ended up living with me at one point that worked at the Speedway gas station closest to my house. And it's a gas station at the time we would go to all the time. This is where we would buy our cigarettes, our papers, whatever. Obviously, our gas. And because he worked there, he gained another friend that worked there who also became friends with me. So I had a few friends that worked there, and when they would work shifts together, I would go up there while they were working shifts and park in the back, and they would come out and hang out in my car with me while they were on break and, you know, maybe smoke out of the bulb, something like that. But there was, so yeah. But now, for people that live outside of the area, this is the Speedway gas station in Frandor, all right? Like, this is a fucking giant intersection in the city. And fucking, it was kind of insane what we were doing. But, in any case, that's where we would hang out, the gas station. Everyone, every kid, every fucking bored kid in every small town in Michigan has a place where they hang out. Granted, this town is a little bit larger than most, but we'd hang out at the Speedway gas station. In any case, we fucking, over time, we end up meeting people through my friends working at the gas station. Some of those people, at one point in time, like, we became friends. We, you know what I mean? Like, some regulars that lived in the area, we became friends with these people. Some of those friends, one of those friends in particular, fucking ends up leading me to our guest tonight. She, at the time, fucking lived on the same road I did, pretty much, and fucking went into that gas station, and at the time was dating our guest tonight. And she invited me over while she was at his house. She invited me over one night. I walk in the door, okay? I walk in the door and see her, him, and his parents sitting there watching television. What were they watching? Destination Truth. I remember this vividly because I sit down and I had not seen that show before. I did not know what that show was, but I immediately picked up on what it was and realized that this is a show about extraterrestrial, paranormal sort of events. And I was like, I remember literally asking you, you're into this? Like, I remember literally saying that to you, and you guys all responding yes. So I would like to right now introduce one of my best friends in the world, Josh, who one of the clinch pins of our friendship literally started in the paranormal. And I felt like this was the most fitting thing to start on a Halloween episode that we are literally recording on Halloween night right now. So our friendship literally started in the paranormal and grew to a level that, like, I never anticipated. You and I have done things that I've never anticipated I would ever do before I met you. You know what I mean? We have anyone who's regularly listened to this podcast. I've told some stories about what some paranormal experiences I've had personally. A lot of those I experienced with Josh because we do these ghost hunts. We go to these places and we have these experiences in supposedly legitimate haunted locations like abandoned haunted asylums, battleships, old mills, things like that.
Some of these places were definitely haunted.
I would say, I mean, I would say pretty much all the ones you and I have visited, I mean, we've had at least something happen. While it might not have been scary at all,
Right.
it might have been just like, relatively like whatever.
Have you yet to been to a place where I felt fear?
Exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you all to one of my best friends, Josh. He is here on the podcast with us tonight.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
There we go. Aaron's here.
What up?
Sporting that bog wraith merch.
Need something a little heavier out because it's snowing.
It's fucking snowing in Michigan on Halloween.
I walked out in a zip up hoodie and stood outside for a second coming here, and I was like, nope, I need a little more than this.
I need to go back inside.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It looks more like Thanksgiving outside than Halloween.
I'm not like super surprised by it because I feel like it's happened the last few years. Like, that I can remember.
I mean, it's happened a lot of years in the past, but like not every year.
Yeah.
But this year seems a little extra crazy.
I think it's been a while since we've had a Halloween that was this shitty out.
This aggressive. This is a little more aggressive than normal.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Like standing snow on the ground.
Yeah. That's a little more aggressive than normal for sure.
I had to clean my car off to get here, and we haven't had snow since. So
yeah.
up to this point.
Up to this point. Since, whatever, March or something.
It's been 50s and 60s all week, and all of a sudden.
Yeah. But you look forward, and it's even worse.
Yeah.
It's not looking good for the next few weeks, so.
Nah.
Fuck.
But we're here. So,
but we are here. We are here tonight. So, and Josh is here with us. So I guess, where we should start, I guess, is talking about, all right, to explain to people, because you and I do something that's a little bit unique. We go on these ghost hunts, but it's not just like, it's not like you and I just get into a car and go to some random location. No, like, we seek these locations out online, and they are places where you pay money to be locked in overnight.
Yeah.
And many of these locations are the same exact locations that you'll see on all the episodes of the TV shows that you watch. The Ghost Adventures, the Ghost Hunters, the this and that, whatever. Paranormal State, all those.
I mean, are we allowed to rep businesses that, are associated with this?
Yeah, there's no money being made off this at all. So
Ghost
yes,
Hunts USA
we can say whatever we want.
We did that one hunt.
Yes, I've talked about them last episode.
That was genuinely a good deal.
That's how we usually in the past. That's how we find the ones we go to is ghosthuntsusa.com. Yep. They have places in, I don't know if it's all 50 states, but a whole fuck ton of the states where they have locations where you can buy a ticket and go in from 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night until 3, 4, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning, and that's your time limit. You can go in from there.
Some of them you can even stay the night and bring a sleeping bag and sleep in.
We could have in ours, if we wanted to, yeah. But we chose to get back in the car and drive home because we were like, all right, we're done with this. But yeah, all right, where do I start here? So the first time I ever did or heard of anything even like this is I had a friend many years ago who had an aunt and uncle who worked for a paranormal investigation group down in the Metro Detroit area, and they were the ones that put on the ghost hunt every year in Fort Wayne in Metro Detroit. So that was like the first exposure I had to anything like this. And we did that one year, and it was just, it wasn't a lock-in, it wasn't an overnight thing, it was just a few-hour tour, during the day, early evening hours. And we went down and did that, and it was a good time. And then, and I actually had an experience that night where I watched... I don't know how else to explain it other than if you imagine like your standard kitchen, all right, and imagine one of the drawers in your kitchen being slightly ajar, about 10 inches open, and just above that there is an empty can of pop. And that can of pop, you're sitting there, and you watch that can of pop literally be lifted up and gently placed into the open drawer. Not knocked into it, not the wind blows it into it. You literally watched it picked up and put into a drawer. I literally saw that happen at Fort Wayne, in the old jail, in the boiler room. I watched that happen. It was crazy. So I did have an experience there. But then after that, I never really did anything like that again until I met you, and we discovered this ghost hunt. No, the first thing we discovered, because so one of the first connections you and I ever made was based on the paranormal, and then at some point I remember bringing up to you that I fucking had done that Fort Wayne thing. I'd gone on this ghost tour in Fort Wayne. I'd brought up to you that those even existed.
Yeah.
And then you and I ended up finding more. Specifically, our first one ever, the USS Edson.
Absolutely.
The first ghost hunt you and I ever did. The USS Edson, also its nickname was the Gray Ghost, was a decommissioned Vietnam
pulling up to that
battleship.
at that night, put a different meaning on it. Like getting the tickets and knowing what we were about to do didn't really sink in until you pulled up to the fucking boat and actually seen it with your bare eyes.
It was pretty crazy because it was literally we pulled around a corner and we're like, holy shit, there it is. That's literally what it was. And yeah, it
and having access to the boat entirely for the whole evening.
Unlimited.
You got to see things that, most people don't ever get to see.
Yeah.
No real experiences, but
we had unlimited access to that boat. We were able to go down every manhole, every hatch, every doorway. There was nothing that was locked. We could literally go anywhere on the boat. And we did.
yeah, absolutely.
We really did.
We made it a point to.
Yeah. And yeah, we didn't I do remember when there was a start time and we arrived with a group of people and they all kind of gave it started with a little, the group putting on this event gave us a rundown and an intro tour and all that kind of stuff. And then at a certain point, they just let us go free. And during the intro, I do remember them saying that, before we all arrived, that, there was some, siren that was set off mysteriously. No one understood. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember him talking about that
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, before we got there was some alarm that was set off or something like that, and then for the rest of that night, while we had a really good time, and I would absolutely do that again. you and I don't remember experiencing anything particularly paranormal.
No, absolutely. I mean, it was comfortable.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was like oddly comfortable. And that's like, I don't know, like there wasn't a single point that evening in any of the areas of that boat that I couldn't have took a nap in at that very moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was that weird. Like,
Huh.
it was more exciting just running around on this battleship and getting to see all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you can sit in the captain's chair up top, you know? And,
Yeah.
like, go down into, like, where they would load the guns from and see, like, the old ammo racks. And it was just...
Oh,
I don't
shit.
know. Yeah, it was...
That's cool.
It was like the access we had
Yeah.
was almost the most exciting part.
That was worth the ticket purchase alone.
Alone. Absolutely.
Yeah. But,
Like,
I
you
mean, as
just
far as, like, nothing paranormal to me, at least.
No, I don't remember.
Met a lot of cool people, like a lot, you know,
Yep.
like-minded people.
Mm.
So
As a matter of fact, we met the people that led us to our
the
next one.
investigation.
And
That's
before we
crazy.
get to that, we kind of jumped right in. Let's start this Halloween episode off with a shot, everyone.
Aaron spilled his original shot and had to swap out with rum.
That's okay.
I
That's
didn't
like a
realize what I
scotch
was
from
doing.
actual Scotland.
The Loch Ness.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Homies.
Cheers, my brothers, and cheers to all of you listening.
No, not.
Takes me right back to the loch.
Man,
I didn't even realize what happened. I just was moving stuff and just knocked it over.
how do people drink scotch?
Easily. Are you kidding me? It's amazing.
I don't know.
I love it.
Maybe I've just yet to find my taste.
I'm not gonna lie. I didn't develop my taste fully until I went there, and that was like pretty much all there was to drink. And so I tried a whole lot, and I was like, you know what? I like this shit.
Get used to it pretty quick.
Yeah, you do. You do. You get used to it real quick, and I like it a lot more than like a vodka. I'll tell you that.
Tequila all day.
Tequila's fantastic. I do like tequila. And it's crazy because back in the day when I first started drinking, tequila was the one, like Jordan loved tequila. And I was like, fuck you, I'll never drink tequila. But in fairness, the only tequila I had at that point was shitty tequila. And then I met you, and you introduced me to good tequila. And I was like, oh, this is real good.
Oh, yeah.
This is real good. So yeah, you just gotta have that right path. So,
Whiskey and Jaeger.
well, yeah, whiskey
And then I expanded the
whiskey,
taste a little bit.
whiskey, Jaeger, rum, tequila, and real good vodka. Yeah, that's right. I don't fuck around with beer too much, but all
usually
of that
do,
I
yeah.
fuck around with.
I'm drinking Jaeger. I'm drinking beer with it.
Yeah,
Really?
that's
Really?
good mix.
Yeah.
That's a mix I wouldn't do. That's a mix I wouldn't do.
Like, I don't want my Jaeger cold though. I like my
Oh, really?
room
It's
temp.
like
Yeah.
cough syrup
Oh,
at
I
that
like-
point.
No, I like Jaeger at any temperature.
Yeah.
I'm good with Jaeger at any temperature.
I don't know. Just something about it cold.
Yeah,
Maybe I drank it so much when I was younger, really cold like that now.
just kind of, yeah.
I could
That
see
makes
that.
sense.
I can see that. Aaron, so now we've talked. Recently we've had a bunch of guests on the podcast, and
Yeah.
I've asked them all, like, if they've had any paranormal experiences. So you've already kind of expressed yours. Now, my question to you though is, like, these things that Josh and I do. These adventures we go on.
Mm.
Would you ever go on one with us?
I'd have to like ease into it a little, but yeah. I mean, well, here's the thing. Like, I'm open-minded about it, and I'm open to the experience because I'd like to actually, like, be able to, like, prove what I'm thinking, I guess, and be able to kind of, like, prove, kind of more to myself that, like, it's actually, like, it makes sense, I guess, and, like, it, so just, like, to actually have that experience and stuff, I feel like would be something that I feel like at this point, I feel like I owe to myself a little bit, but, like, I don't know.
I think me and B were talking about making a run down to Kentucky here And if we do, he was wanting to check a spot out down there that he's been hounding on for a while.
I mean,
That'd be a
okay.
good first investigation for you.
Well, see, I don't like I. All right, let me back up a little bit. Like, I guess this is kind of like where my head is at with everything. Like, I don't doubt that something exists. Like, I don't doubt that these things happen. That, you know, like there's different, you know, things that happen and stuff. But like, if I were to be a part of one of these things, like, I want to kind of, like, you know, ease into it a little bit and not have it be like this crazy,
You
like,
never know what you're gonna get,
shit.
man.
I guess that's true. Yeah, you know,
never know.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that's true. You never know. And
How do you really ease into it? You just kind of do it, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I guess, like, how did you feel first time you did it? Like, were you?
Like I said, the Edson, man, like we had butterflies.
Yeah.
We were excited, but
absolutely.
at no point, like I said, throughout the entire night, did I ever get scared.
Is it like, I have to leave? Like,
Yeah. And then, like,
is it? And now is that because you feel like you've experienced enough, or is that just like the environment kind of deal? Like, is that, you know?
There we go. Hold on 1 second. Hold
Is
on.
is it because you're like
that was the first one though
But
we'd ever done. And don't get me wrong, I've been scared.
that was the first one we've. There we go.
So scared that
That's
like
there we go.
Hmm.
That's
You know what I'm
that's the first one. Hold on, no. That's the first one you and I have ever done, and we did that pretty close to after we first met. And by this point in time, that was probably close to about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You and I have known each other for close to a decade, at least now.
Yeah.
So, my question to you then is, what brought you into the paranormal? And before meeting me, what paranormal experiences have you had?
I mean, paranormal was something I guess I was brought into at a young age. Like, my mom was always into that kind of stuff. She was, used to go to, you know, the different bookstores, metaphysical bookstores and whatnot. And as a kid, she, you know, always allow us to get a book or, you know, save our money and buy something in the store if we wanted to buy something in the store. So, like, I read books at a young age on a lot of different things, out-of-body experiences, meditation, and that all that kind of stuff was just kind of commonplace for me. So, I mean, I started doing that, I mean, at probably 11 years old. But then, I don't know, like, first experience, I guess, that I knew was something was the one that, well, there was a couple times, but the first, like, real one that got me was one evening we thought it'd be fun to, a friend of ours went around cemeteries at night snapping pictures and doing EVP recordings and such, and talked us into going out and doing that. So we got in the van, and there was 4 of us, 2 in the back, 2 in the front, and then pulled into this old cemetery outside of town, like real old, outside of Ionia. And as we pulled in, I was facing towards the middle of the cemetery. The passenger of the car was facing out towards the outer rim of the cemetery, and the cemetery made like a circle. Like, you could drive in off the main road and do a half circle and then cross the main road and go back. So it made a full circle with the main road going down the middle of it. And I always felt like that was some kind of something, you know what I mean? Like, it made kind of like almost a symbol, you know what I mean? And I feel like that symbol means something. But the middle of the cemetery was the oldest part of the cemetery. And as we pulled in, I would stop, would snap a picture out the side of each side of the car at the same time. And the first picture, it went off, like, the air sparkled like I'd never ever seen sparkled before. Like, blew my mind. Like, it made all the hair on my body stand up. And out the other side of the car, there was nothing. It was just normal pictures. But over the middle of this cemetery, there was so many, like, it looked like orbs in the air, just so many of them that it was just ridiculous. And so I pulled up 10 feet, and at this point, I didn't even want to look when I would take the picture. So I would just hold the camera up, snap the picture. Drive up another 10 feet, snap a picture. Well, on that fourth picture, when I snapped the picture, the people in the back gasped, and out of the corner of my eye, I could see like something was coming in the window. You know what I'm saying? And when the light from the flash hit it, you could see where the light like started and was moving forward through whatever this was. And as soon as that happened, I just threw the camera down and hit the gas and pulled out of there as fast as I could. Like I had a dog with me at the time of mine, and the dog just started going nuts, like just barking at my window, trying to come from behind the chair, and just barking and barking. And I just rolled the window up, and I was too scared to even look at the fucking window. So drove to the nearest gas station, which was like 10 minutes away because we're out in the middle of nowhere. Get to the gas station where there was like lights and people, and I just jumped out of the car. And like when we looked through the digital display on the camera, like I still have the picture. I can show you the picture, but that whatever it was, it's clear as day. Something coming in the window, like clear as day. And it was so weird because like just the way the picture is, I don't know. Maybe we could post it or something. But
I've seen the picture, and it literally looks like smoke coming in the window.
But like,
but no one was smoking
so
in the
much
car.
smoke. No,
Like,
no.
and it
That's
was
the thing.
Thick.
We were smoking, but the windows were down, and the pictures go in succession. But the first pictures, you can see tombstones, trees. Like you can see that fourth picture. You can barely see the rear view mirror and like the frame of the window, and nothing out there. Cause the way the smoke like is swirled, it looks so crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen the picture.
After that, I rode in the back seat for the rest of the night and tried to avoid doing that stuff because I don't know. I just don't know.
What I guess like led you to trying to like do this now? Because that was, I mean, I imagine that was probably, one of the earlier experiences and stuff. Like what led to more of the questioning of it and stuff.
After that, I think that there's certain things you shouldn't try to do, but I also feel like I have a sensitive to it, like you know what I mean. I don't know. You can feel it in the air when it's around, and some places maybe it's always around. Some places maybe it just comes and goes. I don't know, but I don't know. Maybe I feel like sometimes maybe it might be drawn to me, but.
Did you? Before, was that your first paranormal experience?
First one worth noting.
Okay.
My first, I guess, if you wanted to go to the real first, when I was younger, my aunt had a farmhouse up outside of Shepherd.
Shepherd, Michigan?
Shepherd, Michigan. And the farmhouse, she got it like cheap, a bunch of land, but she bought it from like a estate. And the old man who lived there before, he had a heart attack at the top of the stairs, fell down the stairs, and died. Well, I don't know if it was what they say is a residual, you know what I mean? But she always had foster kids. And the foster kids, like, sometimes in the middle of the night, you'd hear something tumble down the steps. You'd think it was like a kid or something. And you'd get up and you'd go check, and there'd be nothing there. And you're like, clear as day, you know what I mean? And then some of the foster kids were like babies. And certain times in the middle of the day, they would like be sitting on the floor and they'd look up like somebody was there, and they'd start saying, "Daddy."
Oh my God.
And there was nobody there.
Jesus Christ.
It even happened to me one time. While I was staying the night there. At like in the middle of the night, it sounded like somebody tumbled down the steps. Get up, look, nothing there. Went to bed, woke up the next morning, and the window in my room was open.
What?
You know, like I don't know. Like I was just a kid, so I didn't really think much of it. You know what I mean? But that's probably the earliest.
Okay. And then so that was probably so my earliest I remember cuz ever since I was a kid I loved things like Goosebumps, Ghostbusters, Alien, you know, I loved the horror genre ever since I was a kid. And I remember the first ghost story I was ever told was my grandma. My grandma told me a time where my grandpa at the time would work, I think, third shift at the GM factory in Detroit. So he wouldn't be home until like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. And I guess one night my grandma was up reading a book in her room at like 2 or 3 a.m. or something like that, waiting for Grandpa to get home. My grandpa's name was Jim. And their hallway was carpeted. And she started hearing the sound of boots hitting a wooden floor, footsteps. But that kind of sound, boots hitting a wooden floor, coming down the hallway. So she leaned over and went, Jim? Because that was my grandpa's name. And no response. And then she continued to hear the footsteps. And then she reached to the drawer, because keep in mind, this would have been... Fuck me. This would have probably been 70s, probably. She reached over to the drawer, because there was a gun there. She continued to hear the footsteps and said, Jim? Again, no response. And so she grabbed the gun and sat there. And then literally sat there petrified for like a couple hours until my grandfather actually got home. And she heard him walk in the door and everything else. And he came into her holding a fucking gun. Not pointing it at him, but holding a gun. And she told him what had happened. So years later, so many years later, early 2000, like late 90s, early 2000s, when me and my family moved in to our house in East Lansing, I fuck with you not. One of my first paranormal experiences was my room at the time was upstairs. We had a basement, a main floor, and an upstairs. And I was in the first room on the upstairs. The entire upstairs was carpeted. The entire upstairs. Every room, everything was carpeted. The hallway, everything. I swear to God, I can't explain it to this day. But I heard boots hitting a wooden floor in that carpeted hallway one night. And I was literally so scared I couldn't even move. Like, I heard it. I was wide awake. It wasn't fucking sleep paralysis. I know what that is. That has happened to me later in life after this. I know for a fact that is not what this was. I heard that sound and was so scared I couldn't move for hours. And eventually, like, it stopped. And it went away, and eventually I ran into my parents' room, and, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Well, everybody knows ghosts can't get you under the blankets.
But,
so
like, no, like,
tuck in tight.
That's definitely one of my first, like, real paranormal experiences was that. It was fucking crazy. And then...
did you know about that story before? Like, did she tell you that?
Yes.
And then,
yes.
And then it happened?
Yes, but here's the thing, though. Here's the fucked up part, is at that point in time... Like, by the age that I was at that point, I was already to the point where I was, like, real, like, I'm not just going to believe bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
Yeah.
And that was already at that point in my life where I was already thinking that sort of thing. So it's like I heard that. and I can't explain it. And there was only one other thing that ever happened in that house. That was literally that by far, to me, was the most scary. However, the most scary thing that ever happened in that house. There was one other experience I had, but now that I think about it, my sister did sleepwalk a few times, and it was real weird. And I don't know if she continues to sleepwalk to this day, so I should ask her about that. But in any case, I want to get back.
That'd be a good story.
Right? Like literally one time, because her and I both, my parents, at the time, it was just my parents, her and me. So her and me each had our own upstairs, and my parents had their room upstairs. And they fucking, there was one night where I was just up, and my room was the closest to the stairwell. My sister's was the farthest. And I watched, my door was open. I remember I was up late listening to Tenacious D on a CD player. I had just got the Tenacious D CD. And I watched my sister walk by the room and walk downstairs. And I was like, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was like, that's real weird. So, and I like went downstairs a little while later to like get like a glass of pop or something, whatever. And she was just passed out on the couch. And so I walked over and kind of like shook her awake. I was like, what are you doing down here? She makes up and goes, I don't know. How did I get down here? I was like, you walked down here. She's like, no, I didn't. I was like, I watched you. It was crazy. So yeah, my sister used to sleepwalk, which is pretty crazy. But then, okay, so Josh, back to you. So that was your first kind of like experience. But then I don't know if this was your very next one or not, but I do know you had one later in life before I met you when you worked at a school in the Lansing area. I know you had a few paranormal experiences.
Those ones, I mean, Eastern
At Eastern High School in Lansing, Michigan.
Definitely. I was a night custodian there for a couple of years.
You were a night custodian at Eastern High School.
That's how it starts.
In Lansing, Michigan.
That's how they all start.
While everybody else was still going to high school.
Welcome to Coast AM.
While everybody else was still going to high school, when I was 17, I started working for the school district as a custodian in the evenings at Eastern. And, yeah, being in that place at night, it's a different animal.
Dude, there's always something about being at a school when it's closed late at night.
Yeah.
Something's wrong about it.
I don't know. Like,
yeah.
there was parts of the
There's
school,
an
don't
energy.
get me wrong, that were comfortable.
Mm.
There's other parts like that I couldn't stand. I'd run through them. I wouldn't even take my time. Like, and yeah, I mean, I could never ever confirm anything. You know what I mean? Because you're by yourself, and it's in the middle of the night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, I mean, I know what it looks like when shadows move, and I know what doors sound like. Especially at Eastern, they had real big, heavy doors. You know what I mean? So when a door shut, it didn't matter how hard it shut.
This was a very old high school.
Oh, they built in the 20s, I think. And
I imagine between whenever
like,
it was you
just
were there and
the hallways were so long, like just
yeah.
so you could be at one end of a hallway and look down at the other end of the hallway. You know what I mean? And but like also, you know what I mean? It seemed like it just depended on the time and the place and what was happening. 'Cause there was areas where I'd go and hide in the middle of the day by myself and take a nap, and I didn't, you know, it's fine. You know what I mean? But then at night, I remember getting scared one night and like posting up in the social room, just like and putting like two couches together, and a box fan blowing on me, so I didn't hear nothing. So the box fan would make the noise, so I didn't hear nothing, and then the couches made like a little crevice, and I just posted there and watched TV until it was time for me to get out of there.
Okay, but why did you do that?
I knew I was there by myself, but then it looked like there was somebody at the end of a hall, and then I heard doors, and when I walked around and did my lockup, you know what I mean, like, and checked everything, there's no way any of that should have been happening. So
Anyway, what should have been happening?
you know what I mean? Like the door, the sound of the doors opening and closing, and shadows at the end of the hall moving. You know what I mean? Like people, like they were like going from side to side into other rooms and stuff. And
So you saw this.
yeah, like,
You saw
yeah,
shadows
like,
moving from side to side. You heard
yeah, and then
doors opening and closing.
And being 17 years old, like that would scare the hell out of you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's scary now,
posted,
but
you know what I mean. So I posted up and like didn't do, like because I was only there. They made you do overtime for the dumbest stuff. So like some teachers had like a after hours meeting in the middle of summer, but they were out of there at 7. But then I had to stay till 11:30 and then do a walkthrough and a lockup of everything. You know what I mean? So yeah, when it came time to do the walkthrough and rock, because once they were all gone, I had to take care of business, and after I took care of business, I had to hide out for a little while.
I gotta imagine like
Shit.
there's like especially like night stuff like museums and stuff and different kind of places. Like I'd imagine there's a certain kind of energy that happens when there's like you got it's crowded during the day, but then at night like there's still that like that presence there. There's something there that like you can just kind of feel it almost.
Shit, I worked for a month in Allen Street Elementary, which is like the second or third oldest school in Lansing, and I had to do the third floor, and at the third floor was like, I don't know, the school was old. The basement floor felt really weird. I don't even know what it was about it. Like,
there's certain times where like you just go down in it and you just like stand there, you can just feel it.
Didn't even like. I did not like the way it felt. You know what I mean? But I remember one evening, because it was like a medical verification thing where they had me there doing like a light job for 4 hours because they thought I had a hernia, but it wasn't apparently. So I was a kid. I was young. You know what I mean? Things didn't mean anything to me. You know what I'm saying? So one night I ate little mushrooms and went in to do my job. And about an hour in, just had to lay back on one of the tables like this. They had desks in the kindergarten classrooms and stuff with stuff hanging from the ceiling. And I just had to lay back for a little bit and just let it ride out in this old school. And nothing felt creepy about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just there for the... I don't know. It was interesting, to say the least. But yeah. But the basement... Like, I did not like being in the basement by myself at all.
Basement of what?
Allen Street Elementary. They had like a basement level that they actually used where like the lunchroom was and basketball courts but like just it felt so weird down there.
I'm trying to think. Is that still like standing, like that building?
Yeah, but I think a different business bought it and uses it for something else. So I'm not even positive what it is anymore.
I'll say because that's my guitar player and everything like that's where he practiced at. He's got a place on Allen Street. It's like 208, I think.
So you'll see it.
Whatever. Yeah.
You'll see the school, like
yeah.
But yeah, that was an interesting one. But
I wonder, like
nothing ever really, other than that one night at Eastern. The rest of the time was.
What one night?
That night I worked that overtime and had to hold up until 11:30 so I could get the hell out of there.
Did you ever like I don't know, feel like anybody was like watching you or whatever, like anything weird like that, I guess?
Not there.
No,
not there. But like Like
Just,
auto. I did auto. I worked auto for a little while, and auto just was normal to me. But I think it's because I spent, a lot of time going to school there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting to be in your old classrooms. You know what I mean? And nothing had changed.
Yeah.
Now, though, outside of external experiences, you've told me about times, and I don't know if this was before or after these experiences, but where you've had actually out-of-body experiences,
Oh yeah.
but induced by
Well,
yourself,
like I said,
not
like
necessarily because you were like hit by a car or something like that.
They
You know what
say
I mean?
like when you're younger, your mind is I guess I don't know what's the word I'd be looking for here.
You're not
Affected by reality and
Conditioned.
kind of
Yeah.
like you have it's easier to believe.
Yeah.
So when I read those books when I was younger, like one of them was like how to have an out of body experience, and as a kid, I mean, hell, I'd go through the book and do all the exercises and all the writing thing, and basically with enough practice, I got to where I learned to do it all the different ways, like lucid dreaming, like telling yourself, like being in a dream and then recognizing that it is a dream and then controlling the dream from there. Like there's many ways to get to an out of body experience, you know what I mean? From a meditative state, those were the weirdest ones, but I mean it was easier then. It's so hard now, and like then when I would do it, I didn't get really excited. I don't even know how to explain it, because like I don't know it. When I actually started working and like actually started achieving it, like it didn't. It was exciting, but it didn't get like you didn't get the same excitement like when you get close to one now. Because I've meditated in the last I've tried to do the deep meditation and do it in the last 5 years, and I don't know, came close to something, but like man, like you get so excited at the thought of there actually being maybe something out, you know what I mean, like that as soon as you get excited and you lose control, it's gone.
I would say I wonder if it's like the expectation of it that kind of just like once you're in it and like you're like close to it and then like just doesn't happen, like it kind of takes you out of it a little bit.
Oh, it was so weird. Like I was meditating one night and like it almost felt like when I go into a meditation, I can close my eyes and then it'll just feel like I'm in a huge dark room. You know what I'm saying? Like almost like the Upside Down or some stupid shit.
Yeah.
But it's just like a huge open dark room, and then from there, I don't know, you just find it. You know what I mean? And way off in the distance is one time like it looked like like a light. Like I don't know, like not even just a light, like a nebula, like a galaxy almost. You know what I'm saying? Like. And it was so distant, but you could start to see it, and it just kept coming in. And as it got closer and like bigger, to where I could like actually start to make out what it was, like I could feel myself getting excited. And as soon as I got excited like that, it just faded out. So it's like almost one of those things where it's like, if you try to look at it, it goes away. But as long as you just kind of live in the moment.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
well, I think it's like I kind of contribute that to the same thing as like when you're aware that you're dreaming of something, then you wake up. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it kind of seems like that. Like when you
100%.
like when you kind of like, you know, when you're a couple hours in or whatever, like, you know, and then all of a sudden like you realize that like, oh, like something's weird or this is weird or whatever, and then like all of a sudden you just snap awake and it's like morning and shit. Like,
Yeah,
you know, it's kind of like weird stuff like that.
Like when I first taught myself to recognize when I was in a dream, like I do like a mantra as I was falling asleep, and like say something in my mind over and over again, like I'm gonna have a dream, I'm gonna realize it's a dream, and you know what I mean, and then something else, you know, or whatever. But
Yeah.
I had a couple real vivid, wild ones that, you know, in the middle of it, all of a sudden, you know, you tell yourself it's a dream, and like you say, snap back.
Yeah.
But then I always would have like a 10 to 20 second sleep paralysis as soon as I came back into my body.
Yeah.
And what tripped me out one time was that happened, but how it happened was my mom came into my room to tell me it was dinner time. And when she did, I snapped back and I could see her and I could hear her, but I couldn't move, couldn't talk. And then she like walked back out of my room, and when I could, I got up and I walked out in the kitchen and I said, "Were my eyes open when you just came in my room and was telling me it's dinner time?" And she said no. And that's when I was like, "Holy shit!" Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, that was an eye opener.
I was kind of in the same situation like that. Like I've had things like that happen before where it was like, you know, like I would feel myself like go out into like a different room or whatever, and I would feel like I'd be there and stuff, and I'd be talking to somebody, and then all of a sudden like I would like snap awake and I would realize that it wasn't what I thought it was and stuff, and it just kind of, you know, like sets you back almost. It's weird.
That's crazy. So you've had an out-of-body experience as well.
I feel like I have a lot of time. Like sometimes I feel like there's been things that have happened that I can't really, like, you know, I can't explain other than that. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
like to feel like you're talking to somebody that you know is in the same area as you, but to have no like memory of what that actually was.
yeah.
And like have it be kind of like so much so that you can remember yourself like getting out of wherever you're at, like where you were like fell asleep at. Like let's say, I mean there were times that like I remember like falling asleep on like couch or whatever. I was out in our living room, and then waking up, and then like feeling like I was awake and stuff, and then having like talking to somebody, like whoever was in the, like whoever I knew to be in the house, I guess at the time.
Yeah.
I like remember having like a conversation with them, and then all of a sudden I would snap awake, and it was like it didn't happen. It was just kind of like, it's, you know, kind of the same thing. It's just, I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it, really. It's just
One of the things that the books that I read and stuff would kind of like teach you into doing was, while you thought you were having an out-of-body experience, try to go somewhere and look at something that you have never really seen before, and then go back to that place when you know you're awake and see, you know what I mean?
yeah. Well, I've heard of the rope thing, like you when you're falling asleep, like, and it's more, I guess it's more like about the like lucid dreaming stuff, but like you stare up at the ceiling, like you imagine a rope there, and you try to like climb up the rope, and like the further you get up it, like the further out of yourself you kind of get and stuff. And like if you can fully like detach yourself from that, then that kind of like sets you there and stuff. But if you can't, then like, or like if you can still kind of see it, then it doesn't really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
What's weird is like the times I've known things that I didn't know I knew. That makes sense?
yeah,
So like somebody would, you know, tell you to describe something to them that they've seen and you haven't, but like they're not like they would give you a room or something, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, if you can tell me what's in my room on the walls, you know what I mean, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And like the one time I did that with like a kid at school, and you know, he was just kind of trying to make fun of me, but because you know, when you're a kid, you don't know not to talk about that kind of stuff.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So
If you ever do, it's
I
usually
thought
like
I
jokingly.
thought it was just commonplace, and these books that I've been reading and all this stuff I've been doing, I just thought it was, you know, like everybody knew. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
when I would talk about it at school, I'd talk about it openly. And one time he thought that he would, you know, try to make some fun of me, and he, oh yeah, blah 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 blah. Well, then tell me what's in my room. And I was like, well then, tomorrow at school I'll tell you. So I went home and I did my whole, you know, whatever you want to call it, like my mantra, and did a meditation and stuff. And like the next day, I didn't have a memory of like ever seeing a room or anything.
Mm.
But then when I sat down and he asked me, and I just started saying what came to my head, it was his room. It was the weirdest thing ever.
Wow, man.
And the kid like went pale, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so that was
Huh.
interesting. I never really thought, I mean, you know, he was just a kid. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
That's fucking
he thought
crazy.
somebody told me, or I got the information somehow, but I honestly never even really remembered seeing it. Just when I thought about it,
Well, and the fact that like you could draw something so vividly, and like it matched up perfectly. You know, like how do you explain that?
oh yeah.
That's pretty wild.
But I mean, I don't know. As I've gotten older, more and more things seem less of a coincidence. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Hmm.
So
Like more like disillusioned, or kind of
more like
like trying to find answers for everything, and kind of like
not even like trying to like more like like you'll have those moments where you're like, ooh, that was luck. We got lucky right there. Like you start to, if you really pay attention to those moments, it's not luck. It's, you know what I mean? Like there's, I don't know, there's something that, a level of something that takes over and transforms into luck, I guess. I don't know. But if you know, I don't know. I guess just maybe I'm different, and more of those moments happen to me, and I start to recognize, you know, and that just, it can't be luck. There's no way. I'm not that lucky. I can't be like that lucky. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, like just a couple weeks ago, I was driving to work in Auburn Hills, and as I got off the highway, the exit ramp, I pull up to the exit ramp. There's a stoplight, and there's the road in front of you has an island down the middle, so the lanes are split. And so when you go, you got to pull through that island and then turn left and get into traffic. Well, as the light turns green, the first car in front of me, it goes, makes the turn, and then as I go, I don't know, something told, like, I don't know, I just heard something. I heard a noise. And when I heard that noise, I immediately just stopped and looked. And as I stopped, a dude just blew the fucking red light and would have fucking T-boned me, man, and fucking smucked me hard, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know. Something, like, that was something, you know what I mean? Like, there's no way that wasn't something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
literally just like his car wasn't loud, my car is not loud, there was no loud cars, so I don't know what the noise is that would have caught my attention to make me stop like that. You know what I'm saying? When my lights are green, other cars have stopped. The car in front of me made the light, you know what I mean? So why would I think to stop?
Yeah.
And yeah, like, so
Instinct, maybe?
instinctive. I mean,
But-
what kind of instinct is that? Because you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Huh.
But I've had lots of moments like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I don't know. I feel like once you start to recognize them, you'll see that it's not luck. And it's not coincidence.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Huh. It's hard to kind of like even explain really.
That's what I mean.
It's
Like
just a
it really
feeling that you
is.
get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like that feeling, I don't know, man. It's listen to your gut
Yeah.
always.
All right, so the first fucking the first spot you and I investigated as a ghost hunt you and I went on was the Edson. We just talked about that.
Yes,
where we
sir.
had literally had unlimited access to a decommissioned Vietnam battleship. The Ghost, the Gray Ghost, is what they called it. Then the next location we went to, was that the fucking mill?
Yep.
The next one was the mill. Okay. So it was the fucking haunted mill in Dundee, Michigan.
Yeah.
That is the first location where we actually had some experiences.
Yeah, that place was a great place to check out if you're just trying to, get a feel for it.
I mean, and it's crazy to me too because like it's this place where you on the surface wouldn't expect it. It doesn't.
It's real inviting.
Very. It's literally a museum. Like it's a place you can go and walk around as a museum, and it's it doesn't look particularly haunted at all. It looks like you said, inviting, and everywhere except the basement.
Basement, and then the
I mean,
dining,
really.
or that hall or whatever. Those two areas were odd. They didn't belong.
Like the main hall we were in, like
Yeah.
the area,
Whatever you'd call it.
yeah.
Banquet hall. The bar area. And then the basement. That area right there, just, I don't know, was unsettling in some way.
There's always something about basements that are just kind of just creepy.
Oh
in general.
man, this basement though, yeah, that honestly, that right there was probably like, if we would have had better equipment, or even some of the equipment that we have today, if we would have had that at that time, man, I feel like we would have documented some evidence that was undisputable. Like, I don't know, but we were new to it. Like, we didn't really think much of it. Like, we had a couple things, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But we took a group of us. We think we had 8 or 9 of us, and we'd break into 3 groups. It was a big area, and then rotate. We had walkie-talkies. We'd rotate, and just took like the basic of the basic. Took a bunch of flashlights that had the screw-on tops. That way you could like screw it to just to where the light would go off, and then leave the flashlight on, and set it down, and you could ask questions, and the light would turn on and off. You know what I mean?
Kind of an interesting way to
kind of
do it.
weird responses.
Yeah.
And I mean, we would test it. I mean, like, if you screwed it just to the right, and you could still shake the light and it wouldn't come on, but then you'd set it down on the table and start asking questions, and the light literally would blink on and off for twice and once, and that was interesting. The basement, to me, like the scene that happened for us in the basement was, I don't know, There was multiple things that happened at one time that like just all kind of confirmed what we were experiencing.
Yeah.
Like, so it just, I don't know. That was one of the weirdest things ever.
Yeah, I don't really know how you'd explain that, really.
So like, we're in this basement, and we had a laser thermometer. We had a EVP recorder, or electronic voice recorder. The basement of this building was so sprawling that we took glow sticks and threw them to the far corners of the basement so we could just have like a reference points, because it's pitch black, like pitch black. You can't see your hand in front of your face. And they had already had pictures that they had caught like a black mass down there, like in the basement, and this was from previous investigations. So while me, B, and a friend of ours' wife was down there, B had a laser thermometer, so we could like get an ambient temperature, just to see where the temperature was. And we had a base temperature. I want to say it was like in the low 60s that night. Like it wasn't like super cold. It might have been like, I don't know, maybe 60, 59. And so we were all kind of dressed, hoodies and stuff. So we're in the basement, and we're doing an EVP session, and then we stopped that, and we just wanted to sit in silence for a little bit, and see what would happen. And all of a sudden, I just could feel this cold on my arm, like through my hoodie, like through everything. Like it was just like a cold to the bone. It was like, and it was just on my arm, but like I could feel it. And as soon as it happened, BJ turns to me and shows me the thermometer, and says that the temperature just dropped like 15 degrees.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and like literally, like you could see your breath like that fast. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And no sooner that happens, our buddy's wife comes walking over, and like she's trying to like keep herself together. She's like, "Hey guys, you need to come over here and take a look at this. I'm not sure what I'm seeing, but if it is what I think I'm seeing, I need you guys to confirm, because this is fucking crazy." So we walk with her over to like this doorway area, and maybe 30 feet away there was a chair, and we had snapped a glow stick and threw it over there by the chair, and the glow stick was just rolling around on the floor by itself.
Oh, that's crazy.
And like there was a chair there for a reference point, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we were so unprepared. Like we didn't have cameras, you know what I'm saying? Like even if we did, like a still photo isn't going to capture what exactly is happening, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we stood there and watched that thing move around for like 10, 15 minutes.
That's
like,
crazy.
Oh, dude, like blew my mind. Like, and the three of us sat there and just watched it and roll around. Finally, I said, "Man, we gotta go like tell somebody. Like, we gotta go upstairs and get another team down here to like see if they see this." You know what I mean? And nobody else saw it. We were the only group that saw it that night, and it was just so weird though. Like the chain of events that led up to it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's hard to explain that.
Oh man,
Fucking insane.
like that was one of those ones. Like I would definitely do another investigation there.
Yeah.
Definitely, the old mill in Dundee, Michigan. But I mean, there were so many other experiences we had there that I couldn't just point fingers on just that one.
I mean, that by itself would kind of make me like, be like, all right, well, I got to see like kind of what else is there. Like, piques your curiosity a little bit.
Like we seen shadows by the bar. There was a storage room at the end. If you sat at the one end of the banquet hall, at the other end there was a door to a storage room, big steel door. There's no other ways in or out of that room, just that door.
Mm.
And there's no light switch in there. The light switch is a motion sensor switch. So you could sit at the other end and just watch down there at that door. And there's a good 2-3 inch gap under the door. And all of a sudden, the light would kick on,
Mm.
and you could see like shadows of like footsteps of like somebody in there walking around. And then you could go up there and open the door, and there'd be nobody there.
And
Yeah, like that was an interesting one.
but I imagine it's that kind of thing that like kind of makes you keep wanting to
Oh yeah.
check out other places and stuff.
I mean, I guess until you come across something that
It's
really
like,
spooks the shit out of you.
yeah, it's like too much. So I always kind of wondered that about like these shows and like different kind of people, like, you know, like how much is too much. Like what is the point where you kind of reach that you're like, all right, like,
I mean,
you know.
I can think of some things, but like, that's why I guess I get picky and choosy. You know, I mean, we've been to Fort Wayne, or old Fort Wayne in Detroit. There was a little bit of activity there. It was fun. You know what I mean? But like the history of it was just amazing. God, where else? We did one down at the Randolph Asylum in Indiana.
Yeah.
And that one was legit. Like, so like sometimes I wonder if I'm a little sensitive to it, because I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just I hear things or see things. You know what I'm saying, that other people don't.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when you hear something that nobody else does, and so does the recorder. The recorder will catch it,
Yeah.
and you heard it with your own ears, but nobody else heard it at the time. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff makes me wonder. Because, yeah, the Randolph Asylum, there was a couple times where something would whistle at me. Like, and it'd whistle from, like, down a hall or something, you know what I mean? And it was always just like a,
Huh.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
by the end of the night at that place, like, there wasn't anywhere that was totally uncomfortable. You know what I mean? It felt kind of like I don't know. It didn't really feel too menacing by the end of the night.
Yeah.
So, it was alright.
Kind of get used to it.
Yeah, like, I had a good time there. Like,
Yeah.
there was even a point where we were up in the attic, and it was storming out. So you gotta imagine it like 3 o'clock in the morning. It's storming outside. You're up in the attic of this building. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In pitch black, and it's cold. And you're, and you're just sitting up there, and me and B each sat in total opposite ends, and by ourselves in the pitch black. You know what I'm saying? And not once I didn't see anything. I didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I always kind of wonder if it's more about like the circumstance and kind of like, because I feel like whenever something is gonna happen is when you kind of like aren't expecting anything too.
yeah.
It's kind of and then like when you are, it doesn't really like nothing really clicks or nothing really like, you know, like you're not really like your guard's not up as much, I guess.
I mean, I would say yeah when you least expect it, but sometimes when you go looking for it, you'll find it.
Yeah.
And those times are when you're prepared are the most exciting times.
Yeah, because you kind of like play it out a little bit and kind of like see like maybe like, you know, kind of noticing things and kind of be like, all right, well, let me just kind of see what happens. I guess. Yeah.
Oh, we've caught some wild EVPs. But like just this last investigation was the first one where we had our IR camera and stuff, so like the camcorder.
Oh yeah.
And I was walking around with that, and there was one point literally where we caught an orb, like a little ball of light. You know what I'm saying? But like when I say a little ball of light, the whole entire night, I recorded with that thing for a couple hours, all over the whole building.
Mm-hmm.
Only caught that one ball of light.
Hmm.
And the way that ball of light was moving when we caught it on camera, there's no way in hell that was a fucking buzz, like a dust ball, man.
Yeah.
Like I'm dead. Like that thing came like it came like from me and just kept going and was gone. You know, it was actually pretty cool because I seen it through the when I was looking at the screen. I was seeing it and I was like, oh, there, hey B, we just caught an orb. So that was pretty cool.
It's crazy to me sometimes that like like people catching those and like not even being like anywhere near kind of like where you're at and stuff like that. Like it just kind of
Dude, there was one time me, B, and this girl we knew went out on an evening just to do like a bunch of random locations, you know what I mean, and just to see what we could find.
Yeah.
And we went to the bath site of that school bombing.
Oh yeah.
And we sat out there, and like she had a really nice camera, and I just had like a little digital camera. And we didn't really see anything, we didn't experience or feel anything. It was just a nice park, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like at one point, I don't know, I just pulled my camera up, snapped a picture, looked at the screen, and there was a big orb in the screen, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know why, but I thought I'm gonna take another picture over here where I felt like it was going.
Yeah.
So I pulled the camera up and I snapped another picture, and there it was in a different spot, but still in frame. So then I turned a little more and I snapped another picture, and it was like I tracked it as it went across this area. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was the same orb in every picture. Yeah, that was I couldn't explain that one. You know what I mean? Because it was too big to be like this orb in the picture. It looked like it was the size of a basketball at least. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean? And like it'd be one thing like if it was just showed up in one picture, but I took 3 consecutive pictures and it was in each one. It was just in a different spot.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So
Well, and the fact that you could like kind of like track it almost.
that's the part that threw me off about it. Like, but other than that night, I think we went to 7 Gables.
Oh yeah.
And
that's like notorious for crazy shit. Like weird
what
stuff
kind of
happen.
weird crazy stuff, man? Like everybody says weird crazy stuff, but nobody's ever given me like an actual account of anything.
Oh yeah. I
Like,
don't know.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess that's true. Yeah. Like the only thing that I could ever like pick it back to is I think the story that like BJ told me.
Well, the
about-
story that everybody knows,
Yeah.
like of what supposedly happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
as far as anybody else going out there and having like their own personal account of anything, I have never heard a personal account. You know what I mean? Like as far as I know, me and B and the girl we had with us that evening are the only ones who've ever,
Yeah.
been out there. I don't know, like that's what it felt like at least. And like when we went out there, like it wasn't nothing but a bunch of wild animals. It was a nice warm night. There was a lot of snakes. Snakes were fucking everywhere. Like I didn't feel good that night. So like I felt sick. So I was and it was late. Like we went out there. It was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And we had to like truck down this 2-track. So it's like this little tiny trail. Jesus Christ. And then there's like the tall grass on either side of the trail, man. And as we're hiking down this trail, you can just hear snakes and stuff slithering away in the grass all over. And they see the grass moving as they go.
Yeah.
It was so crazy, man. And then we got to the back where like it supposedly used to be, and there's like the grass was really tall. Something like came out of the tall grass and like charged us. And like I was like, everybody get behind me. And it like charged us, but then it like just turned and ran, and it was in grass that was so tall I never seen what it even was. And then there was this one huge big tree like stump that was cut where it was still like 5 or 6 feet tall. And I snapped one picture out there at that stump, and there was a big orb right next to it, and other than that, that was it.
Man.
That works. And I'm back. So what were you guys talking about the asylum? Where were we?
The orb that you guys saw. You took a picture
The
of
orb
it?
that we caught on camcorder, on the IR cam that we took.
Okay.
There was an orb that I caught in the kitchen area that was like clear as day, zooming through.
You remember fucking the there was like that big like freezer door,
Absolutely.
and like some people said like that it was opening and shit. I never saw that
Nope.
or heard it, but we did see there was like a. It's hard to describe. It was a full-on room, but it was pretty much used as a storage closet. And we 100% undeniably saw the lights in that room going on and off on their own.
Yep.
That was pretty crazy. Did you talk about the glow sticks yet?
Yep.
Okay. Did you talk about what was that thing? There was something that happened. Oh, fuck. I'm glad you're here because maybe you'll help me remember this. There was something that happened where, like, Clint. Remember, because we all had walkie-talkies and we all split up into groups, and somebody was on the radio talking to us, saying. Yeah, Clint was saying something, and we were like experiencing something at the same time. Something was happening.
So when we first split up, Clint and a couple other people went to the basement. They tried to set up motion detectors, but every time they'd set them up, they'd walk away, and as soon as they got 10 feet away, the motion detectors would just start going off all over the place.
That was it.
He couldn't figure it out. After that, motion detectors were set up, and they never went off the rest of the night.
Yeah. Yep.
But for that first 15 minutes, you couldn't set one and get 10 feet away from it without it going off.
Now.
That's crazy.
Okay. So.
And it was in the same area where the glow stick was moving.
So this was at the Dundee Mill in Dundee, Michigan. And this place is, again, I've explained this to you before. This is a place that's set up like a museum. This is not. There are full-on, except for the basement.
The main building
that
used to be the mill still stands from the 1840s.
Yeah.
That is where the museum is. Since, though, in the 50s, they added a kitchen and a banquet hall with the basement and another formal dining room and such.
Yeah.
Which is weird because the most activity was in the basement and the banquet hall, which was made in the 50s. But there was a couple weird things in the oldest part of the building.
I would imagine like the older parts would be the the places
You would
where
think.
You would think, but that's not necessarily the case. Because so the basement, which was added, but so yeah, like a lot of the part, like if you were to go there as your if you were to just go there in the daytime, check it out or whatever, you would probably only really see like the main museum part.
Yeah.
But oddly enough, you'd see the main museum part and you'd probably get a glimpse in the banquet hall. And outside of the basement, those were definitely the parts where we had the most experience. Between that one random like closet room with the light coming on and off, and then other people, you and I don't think experienced it, but other people fucking in our group experienced like that big fucking freezer door opening and closing.
And people were seeing a shadow.
Yeah.
Look out from around the bar.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. People were seeing that. And then we saw the glow sticks in the basement. You talked about that already, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the glow sticks in the basement.
That's pretty trippy.
That was pretty fucking trippy. Genuinely. Because the basement... Whoa, what happened? Check. All right. I think it's just my headphones.
Mecca honey ho.
But yeah, the glow sticks. Yeah, sorry, everybody. The glow sticks in the basement were definitely fucking insane. And then, but so did you talk about the ovulus? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So that to this day for me personally is one of the craziest experiences I've ever had. And that was, we were in the second floor. We're on the second floor, weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were upstairs.
Oh, third. The third floor.
Third? I didn't even remember there was a third floor. Okay. So we're on the third floor. And so, this place is set up kind of like a museum. You know what I mean? There's like an obvious path you walk through, and then there are kind of displays to look at along the way. You know what I mean? And we pretty much had free reign. You know what I mean? Like, nobody was there to, in any way, shape, or form, disrespect or damage anything. We're all there to just look at stuff. And so we're up there, and there's this fucking... All right. So we're with there's a group that puts on this tour, and it's like a ghost hunting group, and they have equipment that they allow for their group members to use. Equipment that you see on like the ghost hunter shows and stuff like that, including the ovulus. And what the ovulus is basically like an EV, sort of like an EVP, sort of, but real time. So in other words, instead of having just a standard voice recorder where you ask a question and...
In B's defense, I don't know if that's an accurate description of how the
no, I don't...
piece of machinery works.
It's probably a bad one. But like, so like an EVP is like a voice recorder where like you ask a question and then you sit there quietly for a while and you ask another question and then you listen back and hope that there is a response that didn't happen in the room at the time.
It's kind of more of a delayed response.
Delayed response.
You can't really hear it unless it's like recorded back.
The ovulus is something that's designed to be an immediate response. It is it is like scanning. It's sitting there scanning a bunch of fucking frequencies and shit like that while you're asking it questions, and then it'll pop up with a word. The idea, at least, is that a spirit will be able to fucking manipulate the electromagnetic energy that it is emitting, and then be able to manipulate that into a word response.
Yeah.
So that's the idea behind it. That's the idea behind it as far as I understand. So we're fucking upstairs on the 3rd floor. And we're with the ghost hunter group. And Josh was with the group and the main person that's holding the Ovilus. And I'm off literally by myself. There's nobody else around me. And so there's a piano, right? And there's a piano there. And I am, one of my favorite movies of all time is Ghostbusters. And there's that great scene in Ghostbusters where Venkman goes to Dana's apartment and he goes, on the piano to fucking fuck with the ghosts, right? So I literally do that. I on the last 2 notes on the piano. Nothing happens. No sound comes out at all. The piano's broken, right? So I hear, and I'm far on the other side of the room from Josh and everybody else, the person with the Ovilus. And the Ovilus, I hear it go, like I hear something. I hear it say something, and I hear people react, but I can't really hear anything because I'm far. It's a museum. It's a top floor of a building. We're far on the other side of the floor. So I go, what did it say? And I hear Josh respond. It said broken. Right after I played a piano that was broken. And like I pressed the keys, and the thought that went through my head was, oh, it's broken.
Yeah.
And then immediately after that, I heard that thing go off, and Josh tell me that the word that it said was broken.
Wow.
So that tells me that there was no way that a person can manipulate that device to say what they want it to say. You know what I'm saying? Because no one knew that I was thinking that or playing that broken piano at that point. So there's no way that the guy holding that was able. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, like that sent shivers down my spine. It was fucking crazy to me.
Well, because you didn't say it out loud. You were just thinking it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it comes back, and it's like
literally,
same thing you were just
when
thinking.
he said broken, I was like, I was just trying to play this broken piano.
Yeah.
And like people freaked out. Like I heard like, you know what I mean? Like it was fucking.
Yeah.
That was a crazy one.
Yeah.
That was a crazy one for sure. I wish Preston were here because he's got some great stories. He fucking he grew up in a house literally across the street from a graveyard. And his house was haunted, definitely. He had one experience that he has told on the podcast before, but I'd love for him to tell it again. But there was one time where he was alone in his house, and it's hard to it's hard to explain. But like his house, okay. So a lot of people have houses where they'll have like their front door, but most people the people that live in the house will mostly use the side door, not the front door. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he had a house like that, and his side door, literally like you open it, and immediately to the left is the door to the basement, right? Well, one day after school, he's at home, and he hears his door, the side door, open and shut, and then immediately he hears the basement door open and shut, and then he hears big, heavy footsteps running down the basement.
Oh.
So he goes, "Oh my God, there's somebody in my house."
Yeah.
He gets up, and he lives at this point in time, he lives in rural Michigan, right? Like rural. So he grabs a shotgun and fucking goes down to the basement because ain't nobody supposed to be home right now. and they just ran down into the basement. That's not something anybody that lives here would ever do.
Yeah.
So he goes down to the basement. He checks every fucking nook and cranny with a shotgun and finds nothing. So, yeah, like shit fucking. And that's just one of many, 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 many things that happened in that house. Again, right across the street from a graveyard.
Yeah. Well, I imagine being there and in that space would, you'd see some crazy shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's just like a breeding ground for crazy stuff.
100%. It's fucking insane, actually. Kind of wish he still lived there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then we could like investigate it and shit.
Well, knowing kind of what you know now, I feel like it would be quite a bit more. Like I feel like you'd be able to find a little bit more.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, especially with the equipment we have now too and stuff.
Yeah.
We could really find. We could fucking do podcasts right down there. These fucking microphones might pick shit up. You know what I mean?
Very possible.
You're like, imagine like sitting there listening to a podcast and you hear an EVP that the people recording the podcast doesn't even know exists. Like that'd be crazy. That'd be fucking insane, actually.
Yeah.
Josh, did you tell any experiences about your time at Eastern?
Earlier, yeah, a couple. There's other places I'd like to get in just to be able to do something and see. Like, there's a church downtown that I hear is pretty haunted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's few places like you can
Here's-
sometimes like you see some spots and you're like, I bet there's something going on there. Like I bet you know what I mean. Like
I don't know, man. Sometimes like it's the most unsuspecting. Like I hear there's a flower shop somewhere downtown that's like poltergeist activity. But like the owner doesn't want it like getting out like that because they don't want to be known for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that makes sense.
so the people that told me, I trust them, but I also understand like they're the kind of people that would take some respect somebody's wishes like that.
Yeah.
So I don't think they would just be telling me about it just to blow smoke up my ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I mean, if they're like,
I mean, shit. There was a time when we were really starting to kind of get into it, where some people we knew approached us about they thought that their house might have been haunted by something negative, I guess. B wanted him. He was gung ho. Everybody wanted. I was the only one who was like, man, I don't know if that's. I don't know if we're equipped to deal with that kind of something yet.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're even equipped now.
Sometimes you gotta kind of like weigh your, what is it? Was it more because like you thought that there was something actually there, or was it because you thought that like?
It was more because, like, of all the stuff that they had listed to me as symptoms of what they were experiencing, everything pointed to, like, a dark presence.
Yeah.
Like, everything, like, they sat down with us and, like, told us about what was happening, and, I mean, like, I said it started with, like, this spot in the basement where like there was like a door that kind of like boarded off like a certain spot, and they came home one night and that was open, and they said after that like it just went. That's when it started, and like just fucking everything from like knocks on the wall to you know what I'm saying, like scratching noises and like. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if this is this might be a little more than we're bargaining for.
Yeah.
You know, we're rookies here. I was like, I don't want to give these people false hope. Like,
Yeah.
all we're coming in and do is we're just gonna record the evidence and then what? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they needed like somebody to actually come in and
Like confirm or deny it.
yeah, and like go to the church and like. But I was like, yeah, so we passed on that.
Probably smart.
Well, we weren't ready. You know what I mean? At least now, and I know enough to, know that if we did go somewhere and capture evidence and collect enough data like that, we could take it to the church. You know what I mean? Or whoever, to deal with something like this.
Yeah.
But man, like some of that stuff is just.
Oh, it's good that you guys at least know. Like,
my limits.
When is like we're not really at that point yet where I feel like you know what I mean, like
yeah, exactly.
Because I think that's pretty important.
Where B's ready to go in anytime, it don't matter to him. So like I'm like
a little more
reserved. Gotta be.
Yeah.
Because man, some things out there like he keeps wanting to go to Bobby Mackey's down there in Kentucky. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, there's a lot of bad juju.
Yeah.
And everybody that, like, not everybody, I don't know about everybody, but prominently stories that come out of that place are not, like, happy stories.
Yeah.
And,
well, you gotta be willing to kind of deal with that.
well,
once you're, because like the thing that I guess always kind of stops me, and maybe it's more of just an irrational fear than anything, but like just like leaving somewhere and like taking something with you, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
Like, stuff is already drawn enough to me. I don't want to like really bring it in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So that's always kind of been something I've been like I would, as much as I would enjoy, possibly seeing something or experiencing something that could change my perception of it. Like it's that fear of what if kind of.
Oh yeah.
Like
huge.
If, should something happen and it leaves or whatever. And
my house was built in the 50s.
Yeah.
And so when I moved in, when I moved in, I always lived alone for a long time. And I could sit in the living room, and in the ductwork below me, you could just hear, bangs and pops and fucking.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense to me because I'm thinking to myself, this isn't the house settling. The house is settled. This house was built in the 50s. It's 60 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so after that went on for a good couple of weeks, I took and finally had enough one night. I just went down there and kind of called it out. And you don't hear it no more. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That was a weird one.
All right, everyone. That was the Lost in the Dark podcast Halloween special 2019. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. Sorry for the slight abrupt ending, but full disclosure, we got started way later and we were quite a bit drunker than we anticipated by the end of that. I don't think we ended until like almost 1 or 2 the next morning. And yeah, so we made the executive decision to stop while we were ahead, and we will pick up again hopefully next week with a part 2 continuation of that conversation or something like that. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and we will be back again very soon with a whole lot more as usual. We got plenty of stuff coming down the pipeline for this month, definitely, now that things are a little bit more back to normal. But yeah, that's going to be about it. Hope you enjoyed the Halloween special. Be sure to follow us, Bogway3Corruptor, on, Bandcamp, YouTube, social media, everything, all that fun stuff. And yeah, that's going to be about it. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope we all had a very happy and safe Halloween. And raise your horns, bang your heads. We love you all to death. Good night.